Sandy give me the thumbs up. Okay. Okay. Good morning, Abdi. Thank you for coming along to the Oor Vyce Gaitherin 2025. I've prepared some words, whether I'll manage to keep to them or no, that's another thing. Matin bach Ashton agus fatse gu crochrinichig Oor Vyce da vila fichet se koik. And Andreas can tell me I've been trying to learn Gaelic for 3 years and it's a bit of a hard job, but I got it, my mum I said, so that's it. So for those of you that didn't ken me, I'm Phil Reid, I'm chair at Oor Vyce. I'm a native northeast loon, as you might hear from my voice, so when you hear me speaking I'll be on the Guidal Doric, so again there's a puckle folk from the northeast here, but it'll be grand to hear different kind of Scots over the course of the day. 2025 is a real landmark here for the Scots Lead and Gaelic and of course, and the Scots languages will become an act. So that's something that really can't be understated at how important that is for our community. It's been a long time coming, so at Oor Vyce, that was the reason we kind of come together back in 2020, I think, was about the official recognition of Scots, and we've kind of got that now. So fitter we're going to do new Oor Vyce, but as we're kind of evolving in that as a group, it's becoming a bit more a community focus for us. So it's about bringing the wider community together, the Ilkley speakers, the organisations, and that to events like us today. So it's really good to see you here. The work really starts new for us all. So we've got the arc, but what does that really mean? So I would say to you today when we're having conversation, let's be bold in our vision for the Scots Lead. So don't hold back. Things that you'd like to see and that you think needs to happen, by all means voice that. It's obviously needing to happen or not, but Ilkley wee thing is a step in the right direction for Scots. The day is about yourselves, so although this is Oor Vyce, well, I'm not going to be up here preaching to you, so you'll be glad to hear that feel the grey spiky hair is not going to be up here Oor Muckle over the day. But the Oor Vyce team's on hand today, so you'll see some of us dotting about. We're the ones with the mere sort of sticky name badges on, but for things like if you hadn't registered for a workshop yet, grab in with us and we'll get you on to the list. There's plenty of opportunity to get to things. We're just trying to manage the numbers more for the library up this there. I think we can get maybe 22 folk in there. So if you hadn't, piece a shout and we'll get you onto the list. Or for any other reason, or if you just want to have leather, just grab the team, more than happy. On the housekeeping side of things, obviously there's tea and coffee throughout the day. You've hopefully had it already, but that'll just keep getting replenished. There's water here and so just whenever you're feeling got a bit of a drouth on, go up there. There's no whiskey, but although there will be a couple of us going to the pub after, so you're kind of welcome to come along. And then at lunchtime, obviously you can grab something for the coffee, or you can just go outside for a doner around the Altoon. It's a fair bonny bit of Edinburgh to be in. There's no fire alarms today, so if it is going off, that is a proper fire alarm. So the centre staff will help gather us and tuck us out to the front of the building, but the muster pint is just to the left hand side, I think, but they'll keep us right. Toilets, I think there is accessible in down here. There's Ian's up on the first floor there, and I think there might be in the library and that. Is there, Steve?
The ground floor and the first.
Very good, so I get the essential things. So as we start, just a wee word about the values for the day. So this is a safe space for Abdi, so please be honest, respectful and listen well to others. We're here to learn from another and make sure that Ilkley voice is heard. Use your Scots tongue with pride, so dinna hold back here no matter what dialect you speak. I promise it's not a Doric Gestapo running event, so we're nae elitist at that in the North East. And if you're a learner, don't be feared to use your Scots. For the big questions today, we hear friends for the Scottish Government here. They're running twa dedicated workshops over the day, so Abdi will get a chance to speak to the team there. And they're excited to speak to the community and hear all your thoughts and ideas for that sort of form and strategy for Scots that will be delivered as part of the act. We also have twa brilliant keynote speakers. We've got Wally this morning and Davies joining us at lunchtime. And I, Farina, I'm excited to hear what they've got to say there. We've got great performances for Grace Stewart-Skinner, so we're just getting Grace sorted out. She's performing this morning. She'll have a wee video that she plays alongside her Clarsach, and we'll hear some great sort of Black Isle Scots there and all. So a great lineup, and they've obviously got the panel this afternoon that Sylvia will be chairing. So really quite an inspirational lineup, so we're awfully excited about that. And just a reminder, today's for the community, run by the community really, and we're here to break down the barriers, lift voices that have long gone unheard, and help shape what happens with the Scots lead for generations to come. So for the Vyce spoken Scots, just the beginning, or represent a community that's rarely listened to, this space is really for you. Just to say enough, sadly Kate Forbes can't be here today, but she's recorded a special address for the event for us, and we'll play that in a minute or twa. But I would like to say I'm really fair tricket to see commitment for the government, both with their attendance here today and their generous funding for the event and that. And while I'm speaking about funding, I should also call out our other supporters. We've got Tracks, who's given up their slots at the Storytelling Centre here, which is a brilliant venue to get ahead of, I have to say, and also the Open University and that. Because I think the sponsors really wouldn't be able to put on a day like this, because Oor Vyce, completely voluntary, we don't get any formal funding and that. It's all about the love of the lead, so it's great when folk agree to support us to do these things. So that's enough for me. Obviously I'm around the whole day. If you want to speak about anything, any thoughts you've had for future events, that type of thing, or if you'd like to be involved in Oor Vyce, just grab me or the team. We'd be more than happy to speak to you. I'm going to invite, after we've played Kate, we'll invite Emma Harper, MSP, to the stage to say a few words, followed by Steve for Tracks, and then we'll hear our first keynote speaker. So thanks again for being here and your commitment. Some of you have taken a day off work like myself, so that's very much appreciated. So I thought a day, we'll play Kate's address.
Thank you for the invitation to speak.
Thank you for the invitation to speak today at the Oor Vyce Gaitherin. I'm sorry that I'm not able to be with you in person, and I hope that you'll all have a broad day. Today is about uniting the Scots-speaking community, bringing together speakers from all different backgrounds and representing all the dialects of Scots. Today is about the power of your voices and about us listening to what you have to say. As a Gaelic speaker, I'm passionate about Scotland's Indigenous languages and proud that this year the Scottish Languages Act has been given royal assent, giving both Gaelic and Scots official language status for the first time. I know this is something Scots speakers, activists and organisations have been asking for over the years. The Act therefore sends a strong message about equal respect for Scots alongside Gaelic and English. This recognition, we hope, helps to challenge stigma, improve confidence among speakers and to validate the lead in public life. I want to thank the Scots speakers, communities and the Scots organisations who came together to help shape and write the bill. The Scottish Government is absolutely committed to maintaining and promoting Scotland's languages, recognising their importance to Scotland's historical, cultural and economic well-being. This year, we've provided £650,000 of funding for a number of Scots bodies doing a range of innovative work in our schools and our communities. This funding represents a £150,000 uplift compared to last year. The Scottish Languages Act offers tremendous opportunities for Gaelic and Scots speakers to work together to strengthen and develop our cherished Indigenous languages and the rights of both Gaelic and Scots speakers in Scotland. We're committed to working with you in securing acceptance, respect for and inclusion of the Scots lead in mainstream public and cultural life in Scotland. Our ambitions are to see an increase in Scots use and inclusion in sectors such as education, publishing, arts, media, community and more. We look forward to working with you to progress the important work that you're already doing and also to maximise the opportunities for the Scots language in education as we implement the Scottish Languages Act. Officials will be on hand throughout the day to listen to your views, so please participate and speak up in the workshops. I want to see bold, inclusive and community-driven Scots strategy that's shaped by you, and I look forward to hearing the outcomes from today. Today's programme looks varied and creative, and I hope you enjoy this gathering together, the conversations and the connections that it brings. Hold tight in your pride in your language and in your culture. We're all the richer for it. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation to speak today.
Harper to the stage.
Thank you. Righty. Thanks very much, Phil. I will try and stick to my script here so that I didn't go off topic too much. So, good morning, everybody. Thank you to Oor Vyce for bringing together everybody here to the Storytelling Centre. It's an absolute honour to speak about the Scots language, and today in my own Scots as well, so I'm very chuffed to be here today. It's an absolute honour to speak about the Scots Language Act, and today in my own words. So this is a historic step for Scotland, and we can explore what more can be done to make Scots a real force for inclusion. Scots isn't just old words, it's our voice, our identity and our future. So we've already had some great conversations this morning with loads of folk, and I've already got loads of notes about follow-up and everything in order to do Lingo Flamingo, and there's other picking up on research related to health inequalities as well. In June, as Kate has described, the Scots Parliament passed the Scots Language Act, granting Scots official recognition for the first time. It isn't a token gesture, it's a commitment to develop a national Scots language strategy, support Scots in education, public services and cultural life. We need to ensure regular reporting so that progress is transparent as well. But as we can, laws didn't change lives on their own. The Act is the foundation, now we need to build the house. Why Scots matters for inclusion? Well, it's more than just a lead. It's a sense of belonging for money folk. Hearing Scots says, your voice counts, that you matter. So it's also really important for, I've written down here, older folk in care homes, and we've had conversations about that, where Scots songs and poems can spark joy and memory for folk. I've heard it myself, and even spoke about it in evidence in my work at Health Committee. Many of you will have heard the story of the wee woman's face that lighted up when the nurse started speaking to her in Scots, responding to this wee woman's in Scots. And folk thought in the care home that she just wasn't speaking a language, that she was just speaking gibberish. So it just shows you how, you know, when we are sensitive to history and people's backgrounds, that we can actually support people to have a more enriched life as well. We also need to support new learners of Scots, our refugees, migrants. They can often feel isolated, so we need to help support learning Scots alongside English, and that can give folks a cultural key to unlock community connections. You know, my former colleagues in NHS Dumfries and Galloway, because I was a nurse before I was an MSP, she was a native speaker of Polish, but her English was actually Scots, and she didn't ken that. But her accent was absolutely amazing in her dialect of Scots in Dumfries and Galloway. Language is a bridge. When we give Scots visibility, we give folk a shared heritage, even if it's no their first lead. There are also economic benefits too. Scots isn't just cultural, it is economic. The creative industries with publishing, theatre, film and tourism are enriched by Scots. Festivals, storytelling events and Scots literature attract visitors and investment. Promoting Scots can boost local economies. We have a big Burns supper in Dumfries, and it's no just Robert Burns's old Scots that's spoken, it's modern Scots that we do in Dumfries as well. So we know that, in short, Scots is good for the purse as well as good for the soul. So a personal example for me in promoting our language, I wrote to Dumfries and Galloway Council to ask what their process is for naming new streets when the new houses are built, and to encourage them to use Scots names. And the response was actually pretty positive, and it included engaging in the communities to find out how the communities feel about naming the new streets using Scots. So that's something that I am going to continue to push for, because I know that the town of Keith, we spoke about it earlier, in north of us here, is really, really good at using Scots for naming of the streets. So imagine if we had new developments with names like Burnside Brae, Thistle Neuk, and even I've written down here Clarty Close. I didn't think I would like to live in Clarty Close. Maybe we would say the Close by the Cleuch or something like that. Celebrating our heritage while making Scots visible in everyday life is absolutely what I am keen to do. We do have some challenges and opportunities though. We do still face stigma. Scots is still seen by some as bad English. We need to support the teachers with resources, and the schools we need to support training the teachers, and I know there's some amazing work going on right now by Sylvia and Open University. We need to support access for hard to reach communities. Often they lack the opportunities to engage in Scots or even understand. I had a conversation in the taxi on the way here. The taxi driver says to me, "Where are you going today?" And I said, "I'm going to the Storytelling Centre to talk about Scots." He goes, "Do you mean Gaelic?" I was like, "No, I mean what you're saying to me right now." And so we had a wee conversation in 10 minutes on taxi, and he had a light bulb moment about the fact that he told me he was told to speak properly when he was a young lad, and now him and I were bantering back and forward, MSP and taxi driver, and so now he hopefully will help carry on that and just conversations and engaging with his own family and community. There are some bright spots though. The Act opens the doors for funding and partnerships. Groups like Oor Vyce are driving grassroots energy. Digital tools and creative arts, storytelling, music, theatre, they can bring Scots to life for diverse audiences. So next steps, we need community projects, work with care homes, that's already underway in some areas, so let's roll that out further. We need to look at how we support refugee organisations to deliver Scots workshops and cultural exchanges. We need to provide the education, support the teachers with Scots resources and bilingual approaches for our new Scots or our new learners. I think that's an interesting way to label folk. It's like, let's call them learners and not necessarily new Scots. Public services need to be supported to embed Scots in signage, in health communications and cultural programming. We had a GP in Parliament present at the Health Inequalities cross-party group, and he talked about how he was giving somebody a diagnosis, and it was a bad diagnosis, and she didn't ken what he was saying because her first language was Scots, and she was from Glasgow, embedded in her own Glasgow language. So I know there is already underway research, as Chris was talking to me earlier about that, in how do we support language in healthcare, in normal language that we're supporting people when we are delivering healthcare. Media presentations are also something we need to be doing, like pushing for Scots mayor in broadcasting, in normal broadcasting. I've heard Martin Geisler on a Sunday morning use Scots words, and I think we need to be using or supporting that as well. And it doesn't have to be the whole sentences, it can be 1 or 2 words that they can just drop in as part of their broadcasting, the news or whatever. So also we need to collaborate, we need to use events like this gathering to shape the National Scots strategy, making inclusion a core principle. So Scots language is, the Act is a milestone, but it's just the start. If we want Scots to thrive, we need to make it relevant. Let's make sicker that it's not just for heritage, but for social cohesion and equality as well. Let's ensure that Scots is a lead that welcomes, connects and celebrates every voice in Scotland. And that's it for me, and I'm going to hand over right now to Stephen Bunn. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, friends. Madden Gaitherin. Thanks, Emma, for some really encouraging and inspiring words. My name's Steve Bunn. I'm the head bummer here at TRACS, Traditional Arts and Culture Scotland. We bide up the stair, quite literally. And TRACS is a national organisation that works across storytelling, music, dance and crafts. We have the Scottish Storytelling Forum and the Traditional Music Forum of Scotland under our umbrella. And my background is as a Scots sangster, originally for Arbroath. Somebody has to be. And I might be the first person that's ever sung a Scots song in a committee meeting at the Parliament. When I did that at the Culture Committee. It went viral for about 2 days. But we use money of the Haymalt Leads of Scotland in our work, Scots and Gaelic. And we have multi-year funding for Creative Scotland, the Scottish Government, to take forward our programme. And in the coming weeks, I just wanted to let folk ken that we'll have a SMA Grants programme that we're taking for it for traditional arts. In which we're looking to bring folk in with Scots and Gaelic language projects. Last year we were accredited by UNESCO as an advisor organisation for a thing called the Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention, which I'll be speaking about. Phil told me to mention this at 11:45 to tell you about what's going on with that. The UK government has signed up to it, and we're working with the devolved governments to bring that to folks wider kenning. That's all I have to say, just to give you a warm welcome here to the Scottish Storytelling Centre. I'm sure we'll have money good cracks about taking we're lead for it, so money thanks.
So, thanks Steve and Emma for that. We've got our first keynote speaker today, William Hershaw. Wally? Would you prefer Wally or William?
Whatever I get.
Whatever you get, I'll call you Wally. So I'd like you to give Wally a warm welcome to the stage.
You should be getting a wee handout there with some poems on it. I thought that was better than PowerPoint. I'm kind of old school with that kind of stuff, you know. So, my name's Wally Hershaw. I'm a Scots maker, a screever, sangster, an editor. I edit a magazine called Lallans, the Journal of the Scots League Associate. And for most of my life, I've been speaking up for the Scots League in one way or another. But before all that, long time ago, I was a wee laddie growing up in a DN coal mining town in central Fife. Lucky enough to be speaking Scots in a community where everybody, family, neighbours, fears did the same. The only problem was that we all thought that we were speaking bad English. And we thought this because we'd been told it. So you'll not be surprised to hear that my attack on Scots is this. It bides and flourishes at the heart of our communities right across the country. And that's what it's carrying stream cais for. And I've always thought that a by ordinary advantage, a blessing, a handsill of fairing, and that I would be far worse off without Scots in my life. And most of all, I think of Scots as a living thing, and like all living things, it has to be nourished, fended, looked after. So the day what I'm going to be doing is reading you 4 poems for a new book I've brought out. It's got a snappy commercial title. It's called Ayrton's Socialism Scots and the Tao Te Ching. And this is my outline, not just to celebrate the ongoing survival and the use of Scots in our communities, but to consider forby the effects of sometimes the deliberate misinformation, the neglect, and the policies of denial that have been used to suppress it for quite a long time. Now, I didn't want to appear negative, because Scots for me is a muckle cultural engine of enormous potential, and but without saying, I hate to define what I think, and it's just a personal view, what Scots isn't. First of all, I didn't believe that it's dying out. I grew up hearing that, you know. I remember being introduced to Burns at the school, and I was told that Burns wrote all these marvellous poems because Scots was dying out. And that was a long time ago. So there's a lee that's gone on unchallenged for centuries ere lang. Scots, like any lead, any language, is aye changing and evolving right enough, as it always stay in time and in place. And I didn't believe either that Scots is a minority language. We ken that now. It's not a minority language spoken by a couple of folk that have been kind of left a hint by technology in some way. It's a majority language in Scotland. And nor is Scots a museum or an academic exhibit. You know, it's not like a deed thing like a stuffed hullet in a glass case. That's because it's a living read that's spoken by folk, ilka day social transaction. Certainly, it is a literary term with a michty provenance. Those are further bonus. But the real wecht and hecht of Scots is that it is communal. It bides as the ongoing vice of the folk. It's shared as such between folk. And as proof of this, I'm going to start by reading a poem to you. I'll call it a found poem. It's called This Was Never the Lead of Dunbar and Burns. And I wrote this down pretty much word for word after I overheard a conversation in the bakers in Lochgelly and Fife, Gorabide. And a man in front of me in the queue was speaking with the baker. And though this poem might sound a bit trivial or superficial in first reading, I believe that this real life collogue between 12 folk who thought that nobody was listening in. They didn't ken there was this kind of nebby guy standing behind them. It tells quite a lot. It reveals a lot about Scottish folks' attitude to life, forby the Scots language. Scots is the default setting when folk are relaxed in their own social context, because in many cases it was the lead of their bairnhood, lead of their family that they grew up with. And interestingly, I asked both the speakers in this exchange, this dramatic monologue, if you like, if they spoke Scots, and they both said, no, we didn't. However, this seems to me to be evidence that Scots, first of all, is a language, and second, that it's more widely used and understood than we are told. So it goes like this. Aye, Neebs, who's it gone? Oh, hell, you see it all. I'm hanging on by a thread. Gaitherin the day then. Och, aye. You wouldn't credit it since the Kikado. And he a bit blot to yourself, sir. Oh, the chance would be a fine thing. You know. Well, there's two of us off with the lurgy, and the shop's been going like Lincoln's Market, and my head's burling like a peary. But anyways, what is it that you're after today? Oh, just 2 rolls and a mutton pie. Oh aye, and a yum-yum for the wife. It's turned out brawer again though. Aye, though I'll no get to see muckle of it. It was Gaidrich this morning though. Have you got in a water? 2 weeks in Magaluf, yourself. We're all in the caravan, Dunkeld, aye. Bro weather, dialing. But I didn't like the heat, you ken, it doesn't agree with me. Well, at least that's it all over for an interview. Will you be wanting a poke for this? No thanks, I'll just carry them. Aye, well, so what time is it you get loused? No till the back of hour. Well, dinna fast yourself, you ken. Pack it canny. Aye, sir. It'll all be the same in 100 years. Didn't thank me, thank the 2 boys in the day. And you see the kind of obvious point here that with Scots is very, very frank. It's used as a transactional means of communication all the time in loads of places. That people are linguistically adaptable and change. And these very same 2 guys in different contexts, if they were somewhere else going for a job interview or whatever, they'd speak in a different way. And Scots gives us an extra dimension. That's why I say it's an advantage. And we know now that the last census indicated Scots is spoken, used and understood by nearly over 12 million folk at least across Scotland. And this represents a wheen of folk for a language that's no official status at time of me writing that. It's gained minimal funding, it's largely ignored by the media, education, civil service, universities, establishment in general, including many politicians. And these numbers are all the more surprising when it's considered that the language in question has supposedly been dying out for the last 3 centuries. And in the introduction of the new book, I said that the Scots language has a long and honourable history, both as the language of working people and communities, but as a literary language of poetry, song and protest. And that word protest is quite apt just now. It's a democratic and inclusive tongue. And we know about Burns' A Man for all that, Hamish Henderson's national and global anthem, Freedom Come All Ye, all good examples of universal Scots. Hugh McDermott's A Drunk Man Looks at the Thistle, coming up for its centenary publication. It's a sustained and ambitious work exploring themes of independence, politics, culture, philosophy, giving Scots a place among the literatures of the world. The Scots language has been in formation for a while. The carrying streams travelled far for its Indo-European roots through Old German, Anglo-Saxon, Middle Scots, right up to now. Some linguists have forecast that in 100 years 90% of the world's languages might be extinct. And if we're not careful, with what we do to the climate, that might turn out to be 100%. The Scots language lends itself well to the expression of universal truths, the expression of compassion, equality, the calling out of political stupidity, cupidity, hypocrisy, injustice, tyranny. It's often an anti-establishment voice, set against the encroachments to the far right. Scots are a tradition of standing up for the oppressed and the poor against the rich and corrupt. It's a natural enemy of fascism. So it's airted to be outspoken and forthright, yet it can also express tenderness, love, spirituality. Scots remains the voice of the folk, the language of everyday communication in shops, playgrounds, offices, factories, pubs, song, gossip, leathers. Scots has retained its authenticity and truthfulness. Luckily for it, it escaped becoming the language of global capitalism. It's a lead that's been kept alive by the outsiders and the lower classes. But these aren't the drawbacks or advantages. So the rebel tongue, the unwanted sister to English. George Orwell, in an essay called Politics in the English Language, expressed the fear that English had become a desiccated language, stripped of meaning and power, reduced to repetitive cliches due to overuse by politicians, journalists, ad men. He was writing that in the 30s and 40s. Through being ignored by a lot of people, thrawn old Scots avoided this fate while surviving right at the heart, communal medium, Falcaday expression and transaction. The second poem I'd like to read to you, just very, very different, and you might agree or disagree with this poem. I don't do this, again, a very personal thing. It's called Reporting Scotland. I was thinking about the way that Scots is represented in our communities, or rather the way in which our communities are not represented. And this is the way that so many people speak, and it gives them identity, and yet they're totally dissed. So it deals with negativity in a way, and Scots is often, portrayed in a negative way. So dedicate to our beloved state broadcaster, or rather their branch office, who we are by law obliged to pay a licence to for the privilege of being ignored, mocked and licklicked. Your way isn't true, your airt and foss. Without stint or still, ye couldn't the roadkill on your crooked road. Idently, you hang their bloody books neatly atop our screens. Endless, your leet of negatives and naysays. In Scotland today, ainly murder, rape, drugs, death, mishanter, mislipperings, failure. A small folk, a small country, with nae hope. So what that a bairn laughed legfu on an unchained Lewis swing, or a Dundee man let his neighbour win a hand of banes to cheer him up, or a woman from Ethel unthrilled herself for hell with a first-class honours degree. You ettle to deny the gid when Caith are by. You hae the affront to presume to edit our day. Let naething hurtsome or bias be celebrated, as if you alone said to clean, leaving only the stains and the gears. You ettle to unpick the gowden threads for by ordinary brick tapestry to serve your union's cause. But a rumour has won out. It soaks atour the sleeping land, I heard some whisper. The adder steers for a blaw stain and tastes the changing air with its tongue. The hawk hangs high and lends a lug. Mises keep forth and hoy and Caithness. Bluebells are flown through Brookett Pavies, in Bellshill and Coatbrig, as much as in Hallig. The old wolf has been seen again, smooling in the woods. Thank you. One thing I didn't like to contemplate is if Scots did disappear, it would leave a massive black hole in our culture, in our lives, how we see ourselves. It would be devastating. I read a really scary speech by Vladimir Putin, where he denied that there was such a thing as Ukrainian culture. He argued that Ukraine was part of Russia, so its culture was Russian. And funnily enough, just about the same time, I read a Scottish Labour lord, who I'm not going to mention, who denied that the Scots language existed. We have to recognise denial and naysaying identity, and therefore individuals have become more and more prevalent. For many years I was a teacher. When the curriculum for Scotland came out, it spoke about creating confident individuals. And I thought, brilliant, that's what we need. And I used to hear these confident individuals out in the playground. But when they came into my classroom, they were blate and they were tongue-tied. And they wouldn't say a word. Just like me when I went to Edinburgh University, I was feared to say in the tutorials. So I skrev this poem after I read a final thing, that larks and corncrakes are dying out across Europe. What would it be like if there were any lavrocks? What would it be like if there wasn't any Scots language? The naysayers of life and lead. And if brune earth flisks stacks wing, drapping sweet isles soon. Doonfalls is seinen sky sand, Kent speckle hopes. Meester Larrick kens who he is, but no the name I praise on him. He vakes sky roads without woes or tolls. Veldfish, all at the champs. Huzag, Topag, Spur, Junke, Lavrock, Larrick. My thoughts are out lipping to his beanly form, his vice and his birdly grammar. Nae say his name, and after that deny the land, the lift, the lead, and the leer forby. And my tint forewandered soul hinds a wall, a ghaist that haunts itself. But I'd like to finish it on a lecture that enables me a positive note. We started our Stravig off Locheli, cultural capital in the baker's shop. I'm going to take you now to finish off to an air where I spend a bit of time, not as much time as my wife does. She's got an allotment at a place called the Locheli Miners Allotment Association Plots. And from time to time I take a donder down there to provide some technical advice. I never do any work. The community of Locheli was dependent on one industry alone, it was coal mining. And following the 1984 miners' strike, or Thatcher strike as it's known locally, Thatcher pretty much wiped out the whole area. There was no plan B. Unemployment in Central Fife stood at over 20%. The allotments were where miners who had lost their jobs could make ground plants, air blether. It was a place where you heard good Scots. That generation has almost died out now, but the spirit carries on. And as I say, Mary's got a plot there, and I sometimes go down and take my flask. I'll not tell you what's in it. It doesn't involve too much work on my part, but I'm convinced that if you sit there for long enough, all life, all human life, all nature will pass you by. And the allotments are at the heart of the community, and it's where you maun hear a fouth of Scots spoken. So all types of people are there. And this has got a really catchy, quick title. 9 verses scrive among the Locheli Miners Allotment Association plots. Some grow flowers, some grow scran, some grow weeds in their allotted span. They want to compete because they hate to win first prize with their sons of tomatoes. Beggars, big greenhouses, gates and sheds, the he's wooden box to half raised beds. The beanley, birl girs, they biodegrade, bar pesticides for their bee-loud glade. The knackety, they need often bra, per jink and trig in 9 straw drawers. The specialists just gin thing keep, the sturtiums, roses on the perfect nape. Seedlings and sods, folk and plants, they all get their turn in the year-long dance. And wonders me, with half-full flask, who am I here? As the spear ask. But the spear itself proves that I am screaming their words in my wicked style. So I'd just like to say thank you to Oor Vyce for inviting me along today. I've really enjoyed that. I hope you've enjoyed the poems as well. And thanks a lot.
That was just raw, Wally. Thank you very much for that. So next up we've got Grace Stewart-Skinner, so we'll just give us a few minutes to get set up for the performance and we'll get going again. Thank you. I will ask Lydia. Okay. Nobody wants
I do want
There were all for the symbols. There was nothing spoken, but okay. If you
Okay, I think we're all set up. Maria, would you be able to just hit play on the video? And then I think we're good to go. So I'd like you all to welcome Grace Stewart Skinner, who's good to play with the guitar. In the background will be our film that looks at Archie Scots. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so just before I start, we bit of background. I come from a tiny wee Black Isle village up north, Clodagh, and we have a very special dialect of Scots, which was mainly spoken by my grandparents' generation, and I decided to do a project just recording people chatting away, and I wrote some music around this, and I made an album this summer. So sadly I don't have my band here, so you've only got me. Sorry. And I'm gonna do just I'm gonna do 4 tracks for you from the album, and yeah, hope you enjoy.
Would you call it dialect, would you? Or sort of the Orkney sort of way of speaking, would that have been understood by people further east?
No.
Like along, no.
No, that was the thing. That was why it was always kept on and heavily kept at sea when they started using VHF radios. It was always said that no one could understand the Orkies,
Right, okay.
and that was a big thing about it. But what they did.
I'm born and bred out High Lake, so I realised that I had to be a fisherman anyway, and so if you had to be a fisherman, you'd have to speak Orkney because it was no good getting in the alley that you were in if you couldn't speak Orkney, because it was Orkney, it was weird. They were all for the same village. There was nothing spoken but Orkney. If there's anybody out with the Orkney clan, like, they had a hard job getting a word out of us. That's it.
I don't know any laddies get the fishing out to the village. And they be at all. You'll the sea.
No young people at all.
No, they up there. Very few.
Things have changed an awful lot now. When we started working first. Really big changes, and in the dialect as well.
related to like everybody else because it is that small. Yeah. But it really was so lovely to go and chat to these guys, and I think they were quite confused. Like as to why they wanted to record them, because obviously to the Aussies they just speak how they speak, and that is it. But the language, the dialect was so closely linked to the fishing culture, which is no longer really a thing, like at all. My dad is one of the last like Aussie fishermen to come out of the place, so it really is like sadly not really a thing. So yeah, it was just so great to sit down with them and get them to chat to me. This next track is all about the really strong woman on board, and like I mean strong in like every sense of the word. They're pretty cool. Like as you'll hear, they really held the village together when the men were out at sea. And yeah, I feel like I don't really need to like explain it because you hear it, but they're just. I wanted to do a track dedicated to these amazing women. So yeah, this is Woman.
I mean, you were always brought up, there was always strong women, because they were on the whole show and the men used to be away for 6-7 months at a time. The women were the ones that kept it going, like beating the Scontics or such like.
Of course, there's quite a few of them went about and sold the fish.
And when my granny told me, she said, "You go claim with a basket in her back selling fish, and she came back with a legs."
Before our time, didn't the women help the men out the boats?
That's way before my time.
Before your time,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, that's from the Snake Pier and that.
That's right, that's right.
And the boats were all drawn up on the beach and the shore, and the women would carry the men off on their backs. know from their box.
Thank you. So yeah, doing this project, it was such a lot to think about it, because I was so like aware of trying to represent the Aussies just for who they are, and just capturing this sense of what it's like to live in Oz, to be from Oz. Like, I'm sure that you guys know there's so many wee communities that have such a strong sense of identity, and that is something that I think in general can get like overlooked nowadays. So, but like it was also terrifying, cause I was literally taking people's voices and people's words, and they had no idea what I was going to do, because I didn't know what I was going to do. So they really put a lot of trust in me to take their voices, take their words, and this next one thing they do is mainly Moira. So this lady called Moira, she really took me under her wing when I was starting out doing this project, and she was so funny. She was like, "Oh, you don't want me, but you go talk to this person. You don't record me, but go and talk to Alistair." But then on the day of recording, because she helped me kind of get people together, so on the day she agreed to sit down and be part of the conversation. I'm so glad that she did, because she had some really great stories. But when we launched the album, we of course did it up and off, and Moira sat right in front of me, right there, and I was like, oh, and that was quite terrifying. But she didn't get up and walk out, so I don't think she hated it. Anyway, so this was Moira Reid.
My by name is Mabel. Mabel. But my grandfather, the dad, his two brothers are different by names.
That's right, Walday.
Walday and
Walday.
Boltay, that's right.
Walday.
Boltay. Well, I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
But I heard via our fisherman last week with the Gardaí about when the Pioneer was up at the all pier. And on Manikipi Cromerty was sent up for a bag of coal. Ken that by me?
Right.
Did he ken who had by me?
Yeah.
And when he was lowering the coal in, it went out the water. And he says, "Dinna worry," he says, "I'll get up and buy another bag and I'll pay for it myself." Cromerty man. You ken what was it?
No, never heard of that. No,
No.
No, I never heard of that.
Now did you heard the tale about Granny P?
Jojoa.
No. They came to take down the railings for the war effort. And she chased them off. She says, "You've me 6 sons, you're not getting me railings." And the railings are still there. Is that right, Louis?
No, I never heard that.
No, there now.
Eh?
Are there?
There's still railings here.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
should probably talk about this. This is a film because I got very excited doing this project and just kept adding more and more parts to it. So I really wanted to create, like I say, this sense of identity and sense of what art really is. So this film was made by my friend, film artist from Glasgow, and he came out to Oor with me and captured the village and the surrounding area. So that's what's going on up there. I should probably say I do have the CDs for sale, and I do have a wonderful 4-piece band. My drummer is actually right here. She's on it, and we have a fiddle player and a double bass. So if you want to hear the full shebang, you can hear it like on the CD. Hopefully you can hear it next year, because hopefully we're going to tour. We are going to. Like if I can get that like organised. So yeah, big thank you to Phil, like Iridia, like Oor Vyce. I came here last year, and it was just such a lovely like event and space for Scots. So thank you. So this last one, is this whole project started because I found some old poems by my Bubba, my granddad, and he had written these poems like an alchemy, and that's what really sparked this idea for me, was why was there not more record of this language. And then so I asked my dad to write a kind of complimentary poem to Bubba's. And my dad is a classic, like, East Coast fisherman, not the usual poetry writing type. And I was like, write me a poem. And he was like, what? No, he wrote this. But the thing was no matter what he did, I had to use it. And this could be anything. But it's not bad. Anyway, so thank you again for listening, and catch me outside if you want a CD or a chat. Yeah, this is Dad.
I don't know what you have, not title, I don't know what you call it, but it's basically about the change in the village. So, there's no a yelly in the pier, as stringers wherever muckalloos with scales I shall do a Keswick. The memories of the scaffies are blow the briggies gone. The pitch block sheds that house the 10 scores and rig nets are awa, along with the yarns of the men that Dr. Keswick couldn't even cure, but still went to sea in their minds. No one looks for the pellets getting lost with the flood tide, or the moths showing appearance in the channel. There's no a chilky or a demicky that would ken it to do with a fry, or stands as their boba's side while he's makes ready the silver harvest for the table. There's hardly a soul that minds a sprat bog dry on the high road fences, draped like bunting for the crowning of the Hailing Queen, where the thick block stains that marked the spot where the barking was done. It's all going, but still we use the name Auchie with pride. Though the bars of the station in the harbour would fair frown for the company of those now past, and the yarns passed down to those eager to listen, the dignity of the family name still remains. The spirit and values of a time now past are carried in new blood, and new names that will in time add to the stories. Be it for the varnished hunters in the pier, or the lump of the voices in the closes, Och will always remain true in the hearts of the Chilads that came from. far gone, but still we use the name Auchie with pride. But still we use the name Auchie with pride. Och, we'll always remain true in the hearts of the children.
The story in it, the love that's going to go into your project, the beautiful Clarsharp play, and it was just amazing. Grace, thanks for sharing that with us. And I think it's a great example of a project that keeps something that could do, but as long as folk are still doing like your Auchie and that in there, that keeps it alive. And if we can get more of this across Scotland, and for me, growing up in basically Upper Buckinghamshire, I did. Black Isle's not that far away, and I didn't get anything about Auchie. I just assumed you got to Inverness, nobody spoke Scots for that.
Yeah.
And,
that's something so fascinating about the dialect is there are we parts of Gaelic in there as well, which is just so fascinating. The two come together like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
So we're running a wee bit ahead, but we'll mark that up with our lunch. Might have to talk 15 minutes your lunch break back for you. That's alright. If you mark your way new to the workshops that you signed up, so we've got the government friends in the court, and Stephen Traps will be up in the library, which is just up the stair for the court. Aye, thank you very much. Enjoy your workshops and be open. Almost back. Sorry for cutting your lunch. We were doing 45 minutes. Ryan, are we good? Okay, good. Well, welcome back. Hope you all had a nice lunch and the coffee. We've got Bob Knight here to do a wee performance to get our energy levels back up again, ready for Davy and keynote later. So, good to be ready. I'll pass over to Bob. Cheers.
Okay. I was just giving some Doric lessons out in the corridor there a minute. So all my songs are basically written in Doric, some variant of Scots. This is a song about an old man, somewhat like myself, looking back through the significant events in his life. In my younger days, so long ago that I can hardly mind, the summers I seemed longer then, though weather always fine. With bleeding knees and scabby shins, we roamed the country wide. Habit every day, we'd end up doing by the waterside. 'Twas by the banks my elder brothers learned me how to swim. Oh, how I'd lost his temper when he heard they threw me in. We'd run about the banks all day and climb amongst the trees. Oh, those happy days, they're just a haze of distant memories. Each nook and turn reminds me of the inn I'll always miss. After there I met my sweetheart, and we shared our first kiss. 'Twas there I shyly asked her if she would be my bride. On a summer night, say long ago, down by the waterside. Syne here we took Oor and bends and watched them having fun along the banks, amongst the trees, the same as we had done. But they've all grown floor among the nest, oh, there are the world run. For horizons were nae broad enough in this wee country tune. Cold winter's grip is on me now, her hands about my throat, and I often think on them I loved and lost along the road. Now they've all gone before me, crossed to the other side, but I often think I hear them still down by the waterside. In my memory, they're with me still down by the waterside. This is a light-hearted look at the dangers of exercise. I woke up this morning and a thought popped in my head to do some exercise this very day. Then I went and lay back down in a darkened room until that silly notion passed away. But if you're desperate to be fit, put on your running kit, get out and do some exercise. If a fat man up and dies, nobody is surprised. They just say he was too fat and shock their heads. If it happens to a man who's always cycled, swam and ran, it seems recht tragic that the silly buggers did. But if you're desperate to be fit, put on your running kit, get out and do some exercise. If you're climbing in the hills, oh, the view can be a thrill, but slipping off a cliff can be a shock. It's not the fleeing through the air that leaves you in despair, it's the impact as you splatter on the rocks. But if you're desperate to be fit, put on your running kit, get out and do some exercise. No, I can't swim a stroke, and I'm near about to learn. To my deficiencies I'm very well attuned. For I canna swim, so I never venture in. It's the idiots that can swim that I get drowned. And if you're desperate to be fit, put on your running kit, get out and do some exercise. But even exercise is gentle, can be quite detrimental. So take it easy when you exercise. This is almost a true story. I got the story from my father, who was a farm worker in the fields of northeast Aberdeenshire back in the 30s and 40s. And he told me about how he went into a pub in Inverurie called the Butcher's Arms, and well, you'll hear the story. There's only one thing I'll tell you, that it mentions a place called Lodge Walk, which was the old police headquarters of Aberdeen Police until the 1970s. So I think you know where this is heading, don't you? Oh no, I don't think I was doing that one next. Here's my list. Sorry about that, folks. I've got what they call an Aberdeen a wee bit previous. Right. I won't do that one, but I'll do it in a minute or two. It's my age. Get half confused. Or as my wife's granny used to say, fused. Which I prefer. Feel fused. I'm quite well known in folk circles for writing schmaltzy, sickeningly sweet love songs. And this is one of them. By the way, all the songs I'm singing I've written myself, so I can't blame anybody else for them being crap, so just play them. And I usually move about a lot because it's hard to hit me with things being thrown at me. I love her eyes, so brune and warm. I love her long dark hair. I love the way she smiles when she turns and sees me there. The way she has telling me she's mine and mine alone. Oh, I love the very ground she walks upon. Now that's the chorus. I want you to hear you joining in, and next time I sing it, okay? The first time I laid eyes on her, I kent she was for me. Sitting in a lecture hall at the university. Oh, I never heard a single word of what was said that day, for I couldn't take my eyes off her in case she slipped away. Chorus coming up. I love her eyes so brown and warm. I love her long dark hair. I love the way she smiles when she turns and sees me there. She has telling me she's mine mine and mine alone. Oh, I love the very ground she walks upon. Now the lecture hour we are filed out, and I was close behind. She turned and gave a smile to me, but the words I couldn't find. And I stuttered out, "Oh, you're lovely." She just smiled and said thank you. As we walked along, she took my hand and said, "I like you too." Oh, I love her eyes, so brune and warm. I love her long dark hair. I love the way she smiles when she turns and sees me there. The way she has a telling me she's mine and mine alone. And I love the very ground she walks upon. Through the years have passed, nothing's changed. I love her more each day. I loved her then and I love her now, and fin we're all in grey. Though you'd be gone, I ken she'll still be beautiful to me. And I'll bless the day I met my love at the university. I love her eyes, so brune and warm. I love her long dark hair. I love the way she smiles when she turns and sees me there. The way she has a telling me she's mine and mine alone. Oh, I love the very ground she walks upon. Oh, I love the very ground she walks upon. I'm not going to tell you anything about this song. I've already talked it. We left the farm on Saturday for Inverurie, and to the butcher's arms, for I stepped up to buy a rune. Now me and Geordie scarcely had a pound apiece to spend, to buy 12 beers, a puke of chips, and sign he'd him again. Well, the barman brought 12 pints of beer, and much to my surprise, for I handed her my £1 note, he gave me change of 5. Well, I looked out at Geordie, and he winked back to me. "Drink up," said he, "let's catch the bus and mark for Aberdeen." We quickly supped up our beers, sign headed for the door, but halfway there my heart first sank when the barman gave a roar. Och, the game was up, I'd hate to pay him back was my first thought, till he pointed to the coat rack and said, "Dinna forget your coat." Well, I thanked him and I turned the coat and I draped it o'er my arm, for it was a coat I never had when I had left. When me and Geordie got inside, we bolted down the road to find the bus for Aberdeen was just about to load. Now when we got into Aberdeen, a pleasant summer ring, with putches full of siller, intent on having fun. But first I pawned that bonny coat, for it was no use to me, and we got another 30 bob to spend upon the spree. We quickly found a likely bar and ordered up some beer, so then we had another roonach and say we had some beer. Just then 12 lassies come o'er by, as bold could be, and said, "Would you lads care to hear some ladies' company?" Now Geordie was a bloody fool and opened his big moo. "Nah," said he, "we're fine, we dinna need the likes of you." For though we're just twa country loons, we're nae daft, you think, to to spend, we'd sell our own twa whores that we could spend on drink. We loved to another, and it soon got out of hand. Sign others in, the bar joined in, and the battle then begun. But the barman cried the bobbies in, we got nae more to drink, and we ended up in Lodgewack, spent the weekend in the clink. Into the court on Monday for disturbance of the peace. The judge declared us guilty, fined us 30 bob a piece. When we got home, our twitches were as bare could be. And that concludes my story of twa firm loons on the spree. Aye, that concludes my story of twa firm loons on the spree. Do one more, or I could do loads more. I've got
4 minutes or so.
well, listen, it should take about 4 minutes. This last song I'm going to do is called Meet Me on the Moor. It's another one of these wee love songs that I do, but it's got a nice chorus which you can join in as well. And it's the title track of my last CD, some copies of which I've got secreted about my person. Only £10, that's a commercial, folks. Quick, brief. Why is this man named more famous? You must ask yourself. Here's my big brag. I played at Glastonbury last year. So amazing place. Yeah, amazing grace, amazing place. It's probably because I'm tucked away in the northeast, Aberdeen, the forgotten land. Meet me on the moor, my love. Will you meet me on the moor? And I'll lay down, say Connie, amongst the wild summer flowers. But the wild flower in creation could be lovelier than you. Meet me on the moor, my love, and I swear I'll be true. It's the chorus, join in when you come back again. At the top edge of the moor, where it's safe, thickly wooded, it's a perfect place for us to meet, say quiet and secluded, where I will tuck ye in my arms and kiss your lips, say softly, amongst the trees where none can see, with you, my bonny lassie, and meet me on the moor, my love. Will you meet me on the moor? And I'll lay down, say Connie, amongst the wild summer flowers. But the wild fruit and creation could be lovelier than you. Meet me on the moor, my love, and I swear I'll be true. We'll walk hand in hand amongst the bonny broom and heather, and I'll slip my arm around your waist to draw us close together. And every time you turn to me, I will kiss you tenderly, to let you ken I love you and you mean the world to me. I meet me on the moor, my love. Will you meet me on the moor? And I'll lay you down, say Connie, amongst the wild summer flowers. But the wild fruit in creation could be lovelier than you. Meet me on the moor, my love, and I swear I'll be true. So will you take a chance with me to see where this might lead? For I think of you both day and night, I was in my head. But if you feel I'm not the man for you, just tell me now, and maybe I'll venture to the moon in hopes of meeting you. And meet me on the moor, my love. Will you meet me on the moor? And I'll lay you down, say canny, amongst the wild summer flowers. Any wild flower in creation could be lovelier than you. Meet me on the moor, my love, and I swear I'll be true. Meet me on the moor, my love, and I swear I'll be true. Thank you very much. You've been a lovely audience. It's been a pleasure singing and playing.
It was a great performance just to get us kittled up again after lunch. I was just thinking maybe before I invite Davey up to do his keynote, maybe just run through what we've got left for the rest of the afternoon so you can have an idea for timings and stuff. So Davey will come up and we'll have our keynote for him. Afterwards we'll move back to the workshops, so our friends, the Scottish Government, will be back in the court again, so if you signed up for the afternoon session with them, that's where you'll be, and my colleague Sylvia will be running her workshop up in the library at the same time. We'll then have a 15-minute break just to have a breath, replenish coffee and stuff like that, and then we'll be back tune in here at 3:30 for the panel that Sylvia will be chairing again. And after that we'll just have final performances, poems from David, and we'll have Peter Mackay on to close the day. So that's what you've got ahead of you. So I think further ado, I'll invite Davey up to see his wee bit. Cheers, Davey.
Sometimes it feels like Scotland's pulling herself apart. You can feel it in the air, in the talk about who we are, what we believe, what we should cry home. Folk argue about politics, identity, belonging, even if it counts as Scottish. It can feel like there's no middle ground left, just sides. But when I travel across the country, from the borders to the islands, to the schemes to the tune ends, I hear something that still unites us. It's the sound of us still talking, speaking to one another. That lilt, that rhythm, that quiet music in our voice. Scots, Gaelic, Cant, Doric, Shetland, Urdu, Polish, all the tongues that live in this wee place. And I think, maybe it's no politics that'll mend us. Maybe it's language. Because when we speak from the heart, when we use the words that feel like home, we remember something older than any divide, that we belong to each other. That's why I called this wee talk Was Like Us. It's not a boast, it's a question. Who are we? Really? Who are we? When we take back and strip back all that noise, what does it mean? In a Scotland that's eye-changing, they still belong. For me, That question begins with the way that I learned to speak. No in a classroom or a dictionary, but in a trailer with my granda. That's where I first learned the power of language, how it shapes us, shelters us, and sometimes saves us. I grew up hearing that phrase, "wha's like us," in more than one tongue. Scots aye, but also can't. The knacking way of speaking. There's part Scots, part Romany, and part the road. It wasn't just the way to talk, but it was a way to belong. When I speak of Scots or can't, I'm no speaking of relics or curiosities. I'm speaking of living things. Languages that breathe with us, grow with us, and hold our stories close. They tell us who we are. They tell us where we're fae. And if we listen, they'll tell us how to come home again. I mind when I was a wee boy and we were shifted to the northeast of Scotland, coincidentally where I live now. And it was tough. I was the only traveller laddie on the camp. There was no other bairns on the camp at that time. And as much as I enjoyed listening to the older folk at night, got Guy Borden sitting on the camp as the only bairn. So I quickly learned that if I was going to survive this shift that could have been weeks, or indeed could have been months, I wasn't sure, and indeed it was up to my feather how long we sat on that waste bit of grunt, I was going to have to try and make some friends. So I decided one day that I would walk along to the local town. We were camped on the outskirts of the town. And I'd seen the other day that there was a park. So I thought, well, where better to find other bairns than at the park? So I walked along and I found other bairns, and they found me. And my welcome wasn't quite a welcome. Yeah. Quite quickly it moved to words like tink, mink, jippo, the old words that I'd gotten used to hearing. And I started to think, well, how can I make myself sound more interesting to this folk? How can I make myself more than what they think a traveller is? And just the night before, my grandfather had been speaking about the camp, and he'd been cracking about the words that make us who we are. So I decided that I would tell this country folk, this settled people, non-traveller folk, the words that I'd learned from my grandfather. So I told them some words. I said, oh, and this translates to this, and I was telling, and they found this fantastic. They found this the most interesting thing that they'd ever heard. So I thought, here we go, I've got friends now, and we played the rest of that afternoon. As the sun was coming down, I goes back to camp. Guy excited to tell my grandfather and my mother and father about the new friends that I'd made. Well, I'll paint the scene for you. It's getting gloomy, and you've got a smell of whelks, because we were picking whelks, so there's heaps of bags of whelks lying at the side of the trailer, and the smell of the fire reek, and I look and there's one buddy sitting at the fire, and it's my grandfather. So I goes across, and my granddad's sitting there. To paint a picture of my granddad, he's a wee man, and he's one of these wee folk that you meet that they've got stature beyond what he was, if that makes sense. And at the time he smoked, and he was smoking this fag, and his face was in darkness, but every time he took a puff of his fag, it lit up his face, to paint a picture. So I goes across and I said, Granda, I made all these friends at the park, and I tell them all about traveller words, and immediately his face turned, and he said, sit down, laddie. So I did. And he proceeds to tell me this story that I'll recount for you today, about the power of words. He said, did I ever tell you the story? And you knew if your grandfather started that, you had to listen. You had to say no. So even if he had told you, you had to say no. Did I ever tell you the story about when your great uncle was at Hawken, up this way? It was years and years ago, long before I was born, but did I ever tell you that story? No, Grandad, no, you never told me. Right. Well, the story was that he was at Hawken, and he's walking through this glen, and it's getting gloomy dark, and he kens he's not got enough time to get back to the camp, and he's on his own. He said in those days, you could go and you could knock a firm door, and the folk would let you in, and they'd give you somewhere to sleep for the night. It was Highland hospitality. He said they would have to do it, and they were used to traveller folk coming in about the place. So he goes up to this big farmhouse and he knocks the door, and this lovely woman comes to the door, rosy cheeked, and the heat hits him in the face as they open the door, and he can look in and he's got a smell of meat, and oh, it's a pleasant sight. And he explains, look, I've been out hawking and I'm stuck on the road and I've got nowhere to bide tonight, I'll no make it back to camp before it's dark. Would you mind if I stayed the night? Oh aye son, that's not a problem at all. Come on in at the Cal and we'll get you something to eat and you can bide here. So he's got chuffed away selling, he goes in, he sits at the table and the woman says, we're making tatties and mince and would you like some of that? The brawn, big cup of tea. And so the laddie's rubbing his hands together. He was calfy walking, and the day's hawking wasn't that good anyway, so he was glad for the bit of meat. So he sits down at the table, and unbeknownst to him, this folk wasn't to be trusted. Now at that time, it was very, very common that if you were a wee orphan, that you would go and you'd become like an indentured servant, and you'd work for folk to kind of earn your keep. And it so happened it was a wee traveller laddie who was working and living with this folk, and his mother and father had died in a fire years before. And he knew that this folk wasn't to be trusted. He knew that this folk worked with what we call burkers. Some of you will be familiar with that term, but kind of brief side note, burkers were folk that would steal folk for the roads and murder them and sell their bodies. So, a bit ghastly kind of thing. Anyway, he knew that this folk worked with burkers and that they weren't to be trusted, and he thought, well, how can I possibly get a message to this laddie without them realising that I've passed on a message? So the story goes, he's sitting at this table anyway, and he's at one side, the fair woman's at the other, and the fair man's in the middle, and he's got his big plate of tatties and meat in front of him, and he's got a big thing of tea. And the wee laddie walks into the room with a big bowl of apples. And he walks in and he goes, Deek how the hantle gavels, deek how the hantle ha, shan cowls, shan potty, bing every and feek awa. Ha the hantles haben, ha the hantles ha, feek and neddies to your noggin, then a sloch a hantle slab. And the fair woman goes mental, she, I'll no be hearing that Gaelic song in my house, away out, wee away out. She chases the wee laddie out. But of course the message has been passed. So she comes back and she says, oh, I'm sorry about that, we look after that wee laddie, but he's always singing in the Gaelic and I'll no be hearing it in my house. And she looks, and by this stage he's finished. And the woman looks across and oh, you ate that guy quick. He says, aye. He says, it was for the road and I'm awfully sleepy now. She says, aye, my food tends to make folk half sleepy. She says, I'll not be hanging you in the house, she says, because I've not got the room. She says, but if it's alright with you, you can sleep out in the barn. So laddie says, aye, that's no problem at all. And he goes out to the barn, and the story is, he goes out the back of the barn and runs away up into the glen, and he never goes back to that house ever again. Now my grandfather tells me this story, and he looks across at me, and he says, what did he run away for? And I said, because it was poisoned. He said, what was poisoned? He said, well, the folks' tea was poisoned. And that's why the laddie ran away, because the other wee laddie told him and that saved him. He said, aye. He said, but you'd be dead. And I said, how would I be dead, Grandad? And he says, because you would have told them all the words and they would have known what you were saying, Phil. Now, whilst we might laugh at that, and I did at the time, what my Grandad was really saying was, watch the words that you give away. They're like embers. Give them to the wrong hands and you'll find yourself cal. Now the story sat with me for years before I fully understood it. At first I thought that he was telling me to keep the cant secret, to not tell anyone the words of cant that I knew. But what he was really saying was mind the power of words. Language is memory, but alive. It's the sound of survival. And every time that we speak it, we're speaking the names of them that came before us, even when we didn't ken their names. I was with my Grandad again last night. He's an old man now. The fag's been set aside long ago, too dear me. But the music in his Scots is still the same. The way he says, you can, the lift and follow it. It's like being wrapped in a blanket. Sitting there I realised, even when people fade, their sound remains. The turns of phrase, the way that they say their name, it's how love lingers between generations. When I hear Scots or cant spoken, I hear him there. The same heartbeat of belonging. In a way our language keeps alive with the people we love. So Scots is alive, aye, and it's thriving in places folk never expected. And I think that's something to celebrate. You hear it now on TikTok, you hear it in classrooms, on stage, young folk are bringing it back, no as a relic, but as a rhythm of modern life. You'll hear, I'm pure done, or that's Barry, or the classic, gonna no do that. Now that's Scots, reshaped, reborn, theirs. That's how languages survive, not by being frozen, but by being used. By bending, shifting, and breathing the language in ways that matter. And when young people from all backgrounds, Roma, Pakistani, Polish, New Syrians, they start claiming Scots, what they're actually saying is, this is our home too. Now for a long time, Scots was something folk were taught to hide. Speak properly, that's no real English. Or, speaking like that makes you sound thick. That shame silenced generations. But now, that silence is breaking. We're hearing Scots again in formal places, as much as in the home. It's being spoken with pride. When I hear a young person use Scots proudly, or a knack and bairn use a word they can't, I think that we're actually mending something. We're healing a wound. You see, language can be a kind of medicine. It lets us name the parts of ourselves that we were once taught to forget. Scotland's strength has never been in sameness. It's aye been in the chorus of the voices that make this dreich wee landmass sing. Every word, no matter its origin, is a thread in our same tartan. So when I hear my grandad's Scots, I hear the same as a Gaelic speaker in Uist, the same rhythm as a Punjabi loon in Glasgow speaking his mammy's tongue, the same Romanes lilted on the streets of Edinburgh. We all hear the same thing. We all hear the human longing to name one thing, home. So when I say wha's like us, I'm not saying it with swagger. I'm saying it with gratitude. Wha's like us, that we carry centuries of words in our lungs. That we can turn hardship into humour, pain into poverty, silence into song. Language is how we survive, how we heal and how we find each other. So speak your tongue, whatever it is, with pride. Teach it, share it, guard it if you must, but never let it die. Because every word that you speak, it's a wee ember for that fire. The fire that came from those before you. And if we all keep that fire burning, Scotland will never grow cold. Thank you.
Some brilliant words here, Davy. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming all the way down to Edinburgh to do that, and obviously the prep there, but some words that run through with me as well there, and I'm sure most folk here today. Okay, so we're going to move on to the second set of workshops. So if you can mark their way to either the court or the library, whatever you chose, you can stop off on the way and top up tea and coffee, and we'll see you afterwards. Okay, thank you very much. Kerst Maha, Welshif Jishal. Okay, I think we can get going. We're running a wee bit ahead. I think overall we should be kind of finish up just after 4:30. So but we'll kick off with the panel discussion. So we're looking forward to seeing. I think we've got any other Oor Vyce folk here. There's a Roman mic that we'll need to do for the QE bit. There may be still there. There's Rory nipping up here, but we don't need it just yet, but that'd be fine. Very good, so we've got about 30 minutes for the panel section. So we've got Bruce, it's very modern, up in Shetland there. So we'll, without further ado, I've said that a lot today, and I'll hand over to Sylvia.
Thank you very much, Mako, thanks. I'm a new speaker, I'm building up my confidence in using the language, and I feel a bit intimidated by this chair, the throne I'm sitting on. Yeah, so welcome back. When we planned this panel session, and the whole event, the gathering this year, we were thinking about what is difficult for us in Oor Vyce, and we said it's difficult to reach these communities where people, for example, say, what do you mean by Scots? What is that? Yeah, but speak it every day. Or, you know, the seldom heard communities that they're difficult to reach in lots of different contexts. And we wanted to highlight that the Scots community is also a very diverse community. And that is something we want to revisit in our panel discussion, and maybe also think about next steps. Where can we go next? We've got our colleagues from the Scottish Government who are very keen to hear about ideas that we can take forward. And I'm very happy to introduce you to our panel today. We've got Bruce Jansen, my dear colleague Bruce, joining us for Shetland. And Bruce is the lone fighter for Scots in Education Scotland, and has done a broad job over the years, really, to put Scots on the table in that big organisation. Then I'm also very happy to be joined by Patricia Timmins. Patricia works for a charity in Glasgow, Lingo Flamingo, and they put research into action that in the middle of the 2010s found if you are bilingual or if you learn languages even when you have dementia, anytime in life, it helps with your brain health and also with your mental health and well-being. And Lingo Flamingo's social mission is to bring this health benefit, a health and well-being benefit, to senior learners in care homes. And Patricia has been working on a Scots project within that, and we'll hear more about that. Then we have Douglas Ansdell, who probably doesn't need any introduction. Douglas comes from the Scots and Gaelic division in the Scottish Government, and without your team's work we wouldn't have the Scottish Languages Act, I guess, Douglas. So it's been a monumental shift for all the discussions. We've heard that today. I feel that people really think ahead, not beyond. You know, we have to cross that bridge. So it's really helping with innovation. And then poor Davy, we're making him work hard today. Davy Donaldson, and we just said, how do I introduce you, Davy? Davy comes from the traveller community in Scotland, but we don't want to just that kind of silo you in this. Davy also does really exciting anthropology research in the Arctic community. So we have a wide range of voices here in the panel today, and hopefully that will give us good food for thought for the next steps for Scots. The motto for the panel discussion was from discord to cohesion, and we really wanted to look at needs of diverse communities within the Scots community, how you see these needs in your work context, and how these can be addressed. If you know you have any ideas, have any insights from members of that community as well. And maybe with that introduction, Bruce, could I hand over to you to maybe translate our motto into your experience, please?
Thank you, Sylvia. Well, I'll start by speaking about my own background. My name's Bruce Jansen, and I'm from Shetland.
keep speaking, Bruce.
That's right, yeah. And being from Shetland and working across the Hill of Scotland means I appreciate what it means to come from a minority background, a peery part of Scotland, and it means that I may have been aware of the value of niche or minority voices within a larger whole and the need for cohesion amongst any discord, and I'm taking that view in every aspect of the work that I do in education, and it's worked very well for Scots. If you value the way that any of the dialects are different as well as similar to one another, and you value the way that different parts of the country, sometimes their values change depending on a variety of social factors, whether it's historical or modern economic factors, then you have to approach policy from the point of view of bringing that discord together into cohesion. And I find that works whether it's in Shetland, Orkney, or Doric-speaking northeast of Scotland, and through any of the cities and more rural parts. And it's been set values that have chimed in education as we promote the GIRFEC policy, getting it right for every child. So celebrating diversity within any classroom, no matter the size, no matter the part of Scotland they sit within. And it's something I'm found has a warm response in the Scottish Government. I can mind here in Yarnwy Douglas years ago, and I said that I'd been to a very rural school within Shetland. It's one of the schools where you go off the main road and you drive for 45 minutes doing a single track road, and then you get to the school. And Douglas was smiling at this, my notion of what it meant to be particularly rural. And I was saying, in Lerwick, the capital of Shetland, it's really very similar to any Scottish coastal town. But when you branch off and look for it, you get into the really rural parts, and you have to make sure and value what you find there as much as within the majority. So valuing and embracing the discord and looking for cohesion has been a huge part of my work for Education Scotland.
Thank you very much, Bruce. And we'll come back to you again in the discussion. Maybe Trish?
Yeah, I'm really happy to go next. So it's a real pleasure to be here. I live down in the Scottish borders.
I can't hear anything. I don't care if anybody's speaking.
Do we need a roving mic?
What do you think, Phil?
It was working before.
Yeah. The joys of technology.
Whatever that. Can you hear anything, Bruce?
Can you hear me okay in the room?
That's okay. You're speaking. That's weird.
Not hearing anything.
Yeah. It's gone beyond my.
In the Zoom settings on the laptop, bottom left on audio, has it got mute, or is it mute or unmuted? So it's before it was going through the microphone on the laptop.
Well, that's the only thing that can be off. I can't.
Yeah, so it's a real pleasure to be here to represent Lingo Flamingo. Some of you have maybe heard of Lingo Flamingo. We're a social enterprise based in Govan. We have a hub there where we teach loads of languages: French, German, Italian, Japanese. And the money that we make there, we pump back into care homes, where we go and we run sessions for older people, many of whom have dementia. And I think Sylvia had mentioned the power of language to stimulate the brain. There's research around that, you could look into it if you're interested. And it's a very powerful thing. So in my sessions, which are usually French and German, I was finding that the group learners were speaking more and more Scots. So we tried wee activities in Scots. And what's happened is we are now writing a whole Scots project, a 10-week programme, an hour a week, I started writing that a couple of weeks ago, and it's a joy, an absolute joy, as if I'm reliving my childhood and how I learned my language. I come from a mining community in Lanarkshire. We had to move through to Midlothian when the pits closed, so I'm a bit more Midlothian twang with a wee bit of Lanarkshire. So that's a wonderful personal experience. I really think that the language connects people in the group. Family members join in so they can connect with the person who has dementia. Some people have never spoken for ages. You suddenly go into Scots and they start speaking. I think somebody mentioned that earlier as well. Staffing wise, staff can learn Scots. There's a lot of staff in care homes who come from different countries, a lot of bank workers. There's a high turnover of staff, so the more they can learn Scots, the more they can connect with the people they're looking after and caring for. So that's really powerful too. I can see people having a sense of pride, identity. They reminisce about their childhood. We sing. It's a multi-sensory learning environment, very stimulating, and Scots can only add to the languages we're doing. It's really wonderful to be part of it. My background is in modern languages teaching in secondary schools, and I also worked in additional needs, so I can bring all those skills together and use my own mother tongue in the groups. So it's a real privilege to work for Lingua Flamingo and see it develop. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, and you really tap into this thing that's come up again and again today, this whole thing about having a voice, you know, your sense of identity. Many people live in care homes and they lose their sense of identity in an institutionalized setting, and one manager Lingua Flamingo work with told me that she said it has really challenged stigma and preconceptions about what it means to live in care. Not just older people, but just people in general. And Scots is the vehicle that is the cohesive that brings that, you know, and you see that again and again. At the same time, other research has shown when you develop dementia, you lose your languages that you learn later in life and revert to your mother tongue. And for many elderly people of this generation, it is Scots. And then we have staff who didn't understand.
Absolutely. Yeah. And from personal experience, my mum had dementia and Alzheimer's. She died last year, and I was able to spend the last few years with her speaking her Lanarkshire, singing. We made a playlist for life with all our music. So yeah, I've got a personal interest and a professional interest in Scots language in particular, but any language that we can bring to marginalised people. Older people in care homes are often left, forgotten about. I see different practice, from really good practice to things that really upset me. And if I can go in and make a difference in 1 hour, that's really positive. So we need to build on that.
Yeah.
There's training issues for staff, training issues for families, but I think we might get there after our booklet is developed. We'll try it out, we'll pilot it, and then we'll take it from there.
And we'll come back to the whole attitudes towards the language for management and so on, which we discussed yesterday. But for now, I'll maybe hand over to Douglas. So how do you translate this? How do we reach these communities into your work, Douglas?
Yeah, I think the best way I can approach that, or the best way I can describe briefly what we do and what we try to do in government, we try to put in place levers and mechanisms to make things happen. And to make sure these levers and mechanisms work well. Now, what do I mean by levers and mechanisms? Legislation can make things happen. Funding, obviously, can make things happen. Statements of priorities can make things happen. And working with bodies and getting bodies and authorities to act in certain ways can make things happen. So we try and have levers and mechanisms that make things happen for Scots, and make things happen at home, community, in schools, in public life, in arts, and in other areas of public life. So I think from government, we say, what can we do to shape the world out there in terms of Scots? What levers and mechanisms? And I think we're forever looking at ways to shape, to improve, to strengthen Scots language by means of whatever things we can get our hands on.
Mm-hmm. One thing that came up in our education workshop earlier was the lack of awareness of Scots as a language, and that came up in this morning's workshop with you. Do you, from the government perspective, have any channel intervention that could support this?
We have, at times, we have had Gaelic awareness sessions within government and Scots awareness sessions within government. My own personal view is I think both of these should be consistently offered within government. I think one of the things in government that you're forever working to support ministers, you're forever working to get ministers' funding out the door, but when you work with responsibility for Gaelic and Scots, there's always an added element of advocacy, not just advocacy to the wider world, but advocacy to those Scottish Government colleagues that you rub shoulders with. And so we don't have it general promotional awareness in government, but I think we could benefit from that to raise the level of awareness generally. It has been done in bits in the past, but we could benefit from it. And if that got into the documents we're preparing, strategy, standards, guidance, that would be a good thing.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Davy, you always end up sitting at the end and being last. Sorry about that.
Privileged place where I can hear what everyone says. So.
That's true.
But yeah, I guess to kind of add to that, and I just want to comment briefly on the chair as well. The elephant that is in the room, but Duncan Williamson's chair, of course. Duncan Williamson was an elder that many of you will be familiar with. Some of you might have even met him. He's actually the granddad of my cousins. So it's quite nice to see his chair there, and I think it's quite nice to see that intergenerational moment continuing. But I guess from Duncan's perspective, you know, I think he'd be quite interested in what's happening here today. And Duncan was of that generation of Nacan elders that kind of, it was put for Betsy White, for example, they opened the tent, right? But I think really what they spoke to was this sharing, deep sense of sharing what at times they'd had to hold so sacred as a result of persecution, as oppression, not too dissimilar to where we're at now in terms of trying to reignite Scots in a land that has for so many generations been told that Scots is a lesser than language, right? So I just want to comment on that. I think for me it comes back, and when you try and put action to this, because things like this, it's fantastic to be quite abstract, and you know, I enjoy going into that space, but I also think we have to be quite action focused. We need to think, what are we actually going to do? You know, we all agree that Scots is important. We're all here because we might be speakers of it, or we might be folk that want to learn about it. We're all on the same page. Where do we actually move from here? And for me, that's about an acknowledgement that linguistic identity is at the heart of social inclusion. I would really like for the strategy for Scots language and for Gaelic and other languages as well, but it to move from a place of just linguistics and culture and move to a place of social policy at large. We need to start seeing this as a fundamental building block in how we build our society. When we start to look into it from that perspective, language prejudice is not just about words, right? It's when I went to university and I was told that I didn't sound like a traveller by the then Director of Education, or when I do work with the BBC and I met some other people in the BBC who told me I had to pronounce things a little bit better than I was because I had no place in the BBC. That's not just about words, right? That's about saying what does and doesn't belong. And that, I think, speaks to social cohesion and social policy much more. So when we start to think about integration, it's a big debate just now in Scotland. I mentioned the migrant hotels this morning. There's a massive magnifying lens right now on social disconnect. And I think Scots has the opportunity to become that glue. I mentioned it in the workshop. So in that way, we're looking at the Scots tongue not simply as language or culture, but actually as restorative work. And I think that's where we need to start reframing it to. So using Scots in public life, like today, we've been using Scots quite a lot. that can model how difference can coexist in a space and be validated and shown equal value within a space in public life. So I think that's important. But we also risk it becoming quite performative, right? We risk having many more of these events and it simply being about placing Scots as a language and not moving any further forward. So I think what we need to start doing is starting to build partnerships with organisations, with people in government, of course, but also with folk that we might not naturally see as a Scots audience, right? In the workshop we mentioned the need for Scots to be in public life and theatre, I mentioned opera, where are these big organisations at, and thinking about how do they integrate the strategies for Scots into their own work, so we're mainstreaming all of this. I mentioned in brief in the last workshop that I'd had the privilege of going and seeing I Swear, and some of you in the room might have seen that film. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, the idea of it advocating for more awareness of Tourette's aside, which is in itself fantastic, but the Scots in that film was so present. It was probably the first film I've ever went to a proper cinema and watched that almost everyone in it was speaking Scots in some way or shape or form. That is advocacy, but that's advocacy in spaces that we might not have necessarily approached in the past. So I think what we all need to do is to leave today inspired, as I'm sure you will, because it's a fantastic event, but thinking about where can we develop partnerships where seldom heard communities, not just marginalised folks like, I guess, the people that I'm coming from, but seldom heard communities as in organisations that might not see this as their kind of fort, right? Where are we bringing them to the table? How are we making them partners in this and not simply audiences? So I think that's a big part of all of this. And I guess lastly, thinking about where Scots can actually build relationships in a way that's solution focused. Scots has always been seen as a problem, right, in the past. It's always been positioned as that. And I worry that because we're so ingrained in the mentality of fighting for the presence of Scots, that we continue in its othering. Instead, why don't we highlight the strengths of Scots in maybe overtaking some of these social incohesion issues or broader issues of representation, and actually position it as, well, here is your asset, here is your skill, this is what we need to lean on. And it reframes the whole argument, and I think it positions us in a much stronger place, and the speakers of Scots therefore feel much more confident and validated in their own space.
Yes, very powerful words, Davy. Thank you very much. Bruce, I was wondering whether you could take that idea of what actions can we take into mainstream education to bring Scots forward.
Yeah, well, it brings to mind two things that have been really important in education. We focus on Scots language recently. Well, one goes back for many generations, and it's the idea of if you're a Scots-speaking bairn, your abilities to succeed in education is improved if you're unique and first voice, your mother tongue, your L1 is given respect and acknowledgement, and that's been the case for as long as education and Scots have both been in place, and it's something that we've been seeing more and more chance that we've had to look at the educational benefits and actually study that, and the results show that is a fact, and that should be the case for Scots-speaking bairns, that the language should be valued in the same way as David was just speaking about. But we've also seen what in some ways is the other side of that coin, and it's Scots being used as something that brings unity to a classroom with different voices. Modern Scotland is a multilingual place, and the modern Scottish classroom is a multilingual space. Loads of different languages spoken, loads of parents learning English as part of their primary schooling and secondary schooling, and what we've seen, particularly me and Sylvia, through our training of teachers, is evidence of Scots being used as a language to unite that different voices together, so that the language that's indigenous to the country that their school is in, regardless of their background, is available to teachers to use as a way of uniting them and putting them on a level playing field and using a language that might not be part of their educational experience elsewhere, So those 2 points that really come to mind for what Davey's just been saying about the need for this linguistic rights to be recognised and valued, and how that has these 2 parallel points moving forward. One is about the Scots-speaking parents that are in the school that come from Scots-speaking homes and families, and then the language respected as a language, its linguistic offering as an additional language to any burden being utilised, and we would love to see that developed even more in education, and the educational benefits explored even further.
Yes, thank you, Bruce. And we see from the teachers who study on our course, they have amazing suggestions. So if you wanted to run some kind of survey, Douglas, among teachers who work with us, they have very good strategic ideas of what can happen on the ground in their contexts. We don't have that much time left, Trish. Challenges you think bringing Scots into the kind of care sector, for example? What do you think? Where is the need for action?
I mean, obviously funding is always an issue in all services, I think, schools. So yeah, how do we sustain that, and how do we make it a sustainable project, if you like?
Yeah.
If we do one Scots project, we need another one. How do we do that? It's not a one-off thing, and it's just a fly-by-night thing.
Yeah,
so,
it's like Burns Night at school.
Yeah, so I think it has to be sustainable. Other challenges are, again, attitudes. I think attitudes to the Scots language in care homes, it's the same as schools, it's the same everywhere. We have to have it accepted as a language in its own right.
Yeah. So normalisation at every level. Yes. Thank you very much. And Douglas, the last word. How can we all do something to help shape the strategy? Any mechanisms that come up?
I think we will be able to shape the strategy, and we're doing it today. We're feeding views in. These views will go back with us in government. These views will shape the next time we venture from our ivory tower and venture out to meet people. We'll go out a little bit better informed.
Yes.
And then hopefully that will feed back. And there will be a process, and there will be documents prepared, and these will go out for formal consultation. So I think events such as this, and taking the opportunity whenever there is a document to comment on, is useful.
Thank you. And maybe just to come back to languages in general, they are quite a niche topic in the UK context. And I sometimes wonder, if hearing Trish speak, whether there's any cross-fertilisation with other government units, for example, health and social care, and just using top-down and bottom-up to somehow spread the word.
Yeah. I mean, in government, we try all the time to reach out to other departments within government. We all almost have a kind of missionary mentality of what department, and not just the very obvious ones of early years, further and higher education, culture and arts, but we do try and reach out to all departments in government and mention the priorities of Gaelic and Scots. And at times we have had a forum with civil servants from a whole range of different departments to share and to get them to buy into the priorities that we see. But it's an ongoing task.
Yes, I can imagine. But thank you so much, everyone. These final words give us a lot of food for thought for our next steps. Thank you very much, Bruce, Trish, Douglas, and Davey.
You're welcome.
Just before we get the guys to jump off the stage, probably have got a couple of minutes if anybody has got a question they'd like to ask one of the panel.
Oh, I thought we were going to get away with it.
No, I was like, oh no, you're getting off that easy. But if you just pop your hand up if you have a question. If no, then we can just move on to the next. Nope, okay. Looks like you got off. Yeah.
For this time.
For this time. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're heading the class towards the end of the day, so we've got a couple of performers, poets. I don't know exactly who the term is, but you've got David and Peter. I'll finish the day. I think I maybe just before we do, or maybe just finish the day with that, and then say thank you to everybody. But there's a few things I maybe just call out at the minute. So I did say to Andreas and Jamie Fairbairn, who's not here today, sadly, although I think he is watching at home, and I'll maybe also take the opportunity to thank those that have watched the stream for home. Hope you've enjoyed it and it's come across well to you. It's certainly been very enjoyable for us in the room. But Andreas and Jamie have just got word that they'll be carrying on the Doric Boot Camp next year. That's right, on the 17th to 20th of July up in Port Soy. So is that the third one, Andreas?
Yes, that'll be the third edition. Bigger and better.
Bigger and better.
So if you're interested, head to our Facebook page, Doric Boot Camp.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll get up this year. I was in Italy, sadly. And I should also call out that there's a great event here in the centre in Ach, Bohan Hunagin, which I try and get along to when I can. We've got Jenny, the chair for Bohan, and we've got Rory Gray in Ach.
Should be good fun.
Yeah.
There's a few tickets left.
So if you're free and fancy that, tickets for the box office up the stair. So, and then once the Oor Vyce team get off and cleared up, we're heading across the Canongate for a dram and a pint. Sarah needed, but if you want to head across there, we'll see you there when we get finished up. It'd be grand to see a few folk. I also like to maybe just have the opportunity to thank Maria and Sandy up the back there. Maria's been keeping us right in the AV, and Sandy's been running the live stream today. So thanks for your effort, and also thanks to the staff at the centre that's kept us on the right track. And finally, I should also thank the Oor Vyce team. There's a couple of us dotted about. We've got Tom and Isla there, Rory at the back, Brian's done the events, so many thanks. We've got some Oor Vyce alumni here, and Joanna, so there, and Sylvia of course as well. So thanks to the team for helping me get this over the line. Near mean feet, so cheers.
And Phil,
and
a big thanks to you.
Yeah. Huge inspiration of a day, and there's a lot of work goes into these things, but when you see it all come together, it really makes it worthwhile. And you'll see at the end of your rows there's a feedback sheet. Please do fill that out if you can, because that's where we'll get ideas for you thought of the day, what you'd like to see more, and we'll talk that into our planning for next year, and see if we can pull together for that. So I think that's everything on my list. So I think for the day I'm going to invite David Blayman. Have I pronounced your Yeah. He's got a few poems, and then we'll finish off with Peter Mackay, Scotland's Marker, and then we'll get to, you can go to the pub.
We all want to go to the pub. Well, the more observant I use will maybe attend to the fact that my accent is no that of a native Scot. Not just North British, more like North London. On a day like today, I suffer a wee bit for imposter syndrome. But I learned that if Scots is a leaving lead, It's alright to say in any accent fun in modern Scotland, even London accent. Folk for all the arts can blether and screeve the lead because Scots is for Aberdeen. And Scots bides in a multicultural, multilingual land, along with Gaelic and many other mother tongues. We all can use and celebrate all of our languages, mother tongue, lost and half-remembered heritage languages, and learned languages. And code switching, by the way, is alright as well. I came up with a neologism, tongue stramash, to describe the Nsonsi multilingual argy-bargy. I'll read 3 short poems and end this theme, which I think has been a common theme today, that Scots is for Aberdeen. And they're all in my book of poems, tongue stramash. I'm not the only person today to offer my wares. You'll find them upstairs, and I'll be hanging about for a few minutes upstairs. So the first poem, my macaronic manifest. Gimme your tongue stramash, your vices prude fit all the arts, and know some longsome shilpit script in standard English wersh and wan. Don't bevy of the monoglots of peely-wally, scrimpet swally. A skirl a Gaelic blowing through the larach, a ween a lingos hooching of the schemes, fe Polish, te Punjabi, and Urdu, French or Cantonese. Jock Tamson's love bands are monolingual, and ilka friends a fier te sort a screed. One verse proves when verse proves wake and wanished wershed, I'll throw a wee bit Yiddish in a parish, or maybe wail in Bishan Espanol. My manifest is both belief and cargo list. Abide among the mixter maxter folk, who slogan cries the cluty cluck. Thank you. The next thing is a more personal autobiographical take on the same theme. As a Wayne, I heard mair no yin lead of the hoose. I was born in South Africa, but all four of my grandparents came faced in Europe. And I scribed this poem in answer to a family member who speared at me, why do you write in Scots? Why do I scribe in Scots? Maybe the smell that after 40 years on thurl this tuch old Ashkenazi skin or empires of the Habsburgs and the Tsars by way of Africa. Ablins that this here promised lawn war used come hame is what I chased to stay. That words will wander to a mouth wherever Macca's stone and brother. That ginnets I a yerd fast lead, Ilkain appropriated by the Drich, Monsukit teo cultures, each to each. That Oma Ethel spak 3 languages in ein. That Poesia Macaronisha seeps in and out of me like Weltschmerz. So maybe why I scribe in Scots is why I write at all. I will finish with Straveg along what Hamish Henderson cried the carrying stream. I heard that expression earlier today. The carrying stream, the stream of culture for the sounds of folk we've lost, to a half while we can enjoy bonny sounds for fremmed arts in many mixter maxter vices. And we could say Oor Vyce, and we might say Oor Vyces and all. The carrying stream. The hast blink horizontal i the gloaming, blinds or een on the lang road hame, but doon on dowie glens a wold, a gowd and shadows, where strikes the sun, breeze, yellow reed, and swanlicht sweems like Lochiel's lantern along the Amelie burn. Do you mind the songs of folk we've lost? Thon's men no a heap of stains ye stramp, can you no see the health at the heart? A larach's a boorach, wi' a skirl of sang blowing through, throchin through, tak tent. Do you hear the old sang new? Do you feel the snell wind o' your stream near the hoose by keening throchin through? Blatter of the thrang tune hashes my dwam. The peep of music pours me to a half. Thon old sang sings out sae clear, the money mixed amongst devices, along wi' unco sangs fae fremit earths. I'm blithe to get such halesome corrinuchin in a nation. The skeely stream of sang runs on aneath the rumbling breg, all ettle for to carry off a stoop, to perts wha unweel folk mak through. Ma thrapple, waving throch and through the warp, all the mashloch threeds of common kinship coming yet. Thank you.
I'm very delighted to be here and to bring this to an end. Sorry I couldn't be with you through the day. Do I have imposter syndrome? Yes. I teach Scots literature as well, but I don't speak Scots. I've got this step that I've got to overcome, and I make all of my students at St Anne's University read it aloud. But I don't class myself as a speaker. It's a weird thing coming from the west coast of Lewis. But one of the things I wanted to do, when I took on the role of Scottish Macar, was to keep the word Macar in all of the languages that I use. So in Gaelic I'm Macar na Harpa. So that means in both languages there's something double going on. There's something in the pun macaronic going on there. So you're between different languages, and then it means that I have to work different muscles. I've been really lucky in the post. One of the first things that I got to do was to go up to Banff Academy with Stuart Clarent and Jamie Fairbairn, where I saw the work they were doing on Scots, Doric, and how they were tying that into environmental awareness and the specific words for the plants and animals up there. And that was really heartening, and that's going to come through in the first poem I'm going to read. It's also really important to be here in this year, the Year of Scottish Languages Act, because this is such an important step. But as we all know, an important step needs to be followed by another important step, and then another important step, and then another. It doesn't stop. Two things to think about. Do you know of the mother tongue, other tongue competition for school kids? Oh, someday. Okay, you really should. It's a really good competition run out of Strathclyde University, which encourages people to write poetry in a language that isn't English, either the language of home or the language they've learnt in a classroom. So Scots and Gaelic are included there. Really nice competition. I strongly recommend that. And next month there will be a poetry jukebox at the Scottish Poetry Library, which is fragments of Scots poetry from the Lennon Hall Library in Belfast. The Scots is, of course, an international language, and this is the second biggest collection of Scots, outside Scotland. And there are, I think it's 8 different poets who are asked to respond to Robert Burns and then write contemporary poems. And I did one of them. And the question is always, how the hell do you respond to Robert Burns? What do we do with this fantastic linguistic cultural heritage that we have, and how do we deal with it in the modern world? What do we do with our languages that are so rich but do need to be made flexible to engage with everything that we have to face with nowadays? That's not a problem, that's fun. And that's the kind of fun we get to do when writing poetry, or if you're Andreas, when working for the BBC and having to use Gaelic to create new words each day. So this is the poem I wrote in response to Burns' song, O Wert Thou in the Cauld Blast, which I'm going to read first. O wert thou in the cauld blast, on yonder lea, my plaidy to the angry airt, I'd shelter thee, I'd shelter thee. Or did misfortune's bitter storms around thee below, thy beeld should be my bosom, to share it all, to share it all. Or were I in the wildest waste, say black and bare, the desert were a paradise, if thou wert there, if thou wert there. Or were I monarch of the globe, with thee to reign, the brightest jewel in my crown would be my queen, would be my queen. Get nachel irpsakam an a fer a chronic raim an a trach hoch, smagheche a rai gofil burns karst, gur jessica gustron the gavan as an a harst, hashin ho keuchlochjoch ri can an hain, stu on some big chin na ri, leis gach bil agus parish agus ule, a fallach jachtri clois de ganye is ye. Maar Macrobius, ik gichi finjarkin in de rin, agus a brin met eirigus tuch en schiveltjes, hashin ik jerich sul. Broonel agus a hokkelvalligen, die geinigig akman. Ta, time de restel, ganunin Macrobius, no fuse viek burns, havishin chai imperach na riok atsa ha von lochas de general honor, ogen in de platje. Strichen down na tokla niege na trask na kruide, gunjarste gol an een kaal ach klol in de naish. Gavn drin down na rai en tush gus blan shirish, schaneem of rai volach, makon legoch, gur urps en tulle, parchigiat, liefet me skilled. Much though I distrust a man singing quietly to me in the conditional tense, Burns might just, my love, be right to prepare us for the cold blasts and deserts. We're as changeable as language itself, a time-charged medium whose builds and paradises and awe hide a tired history of want and war. Like the Roman provincial Macrobius, eating grapes one after another and talking of how civilizations rise and fall, we are at the end of a world. The crumbling and rebuilding of walls, the forgetting of words. Thankfully though, we're not Macrobius or even sons of Burns, and we won't mourn empires or kingdoms. For as long as spattered raindrops still glitter on tweed tendrils, as wrens nest in the cracks in the trees, taken tent of nothing but the music of their habits. Trust in the wrens, my love, the rain and the cherry blossom, not in my blustering chest or my jeweled words. Trust in them, let them be, share 'em all. So such an open, expansive, generous word, not all. Burach. Han burach gavarkein brundel, drachis horish. Trapille in misk na luchterish agus mointir vada. Fiach na gesse lorag an nainch at the rifchaiv, in itch in haron burach a rief a brian on a ha. O hen, ha mi oomnachach vi parsen vurach ach. Weer gaf oomnachach en je korre vurig hasjen. Hatjeetje hulkalig navik is voermerk na struut na lintjen, maar is getron gnul inat de choraken is oanje shies a getten en ba. Vier na shene zich voerigig tronaig is a vada sjo, ach en is shanjordan nasente, tashbenig de vurig de jolis, aan de bruinach jach etterjankige haast. Deja vu alles kaul. Lav en skloed doch het jan boerach de gimlen green. Jaak sin duich eifgus reinchef boerach je, en jo. Jaak sin boerach eifgus reinchef duich je. Jenig na room nog fuse boerach as herrichiet fosrish. Ach dein jither gofatsa ha boerach goliora raga gus chivak en gol. O hier na bjauns en boerachen. Gus een bisschen bjoon boerach sjo riest slanch. Na kenna sjo boerach bak bida geteen ik Doris. I basically use the word boerach as this big bag that you can throw any meaning into. This big mess. The Burach is mumbling its way along George IV Bridge, trying to weave a way through the tourists and the locals that will block out the and the itch that they find difficult to pronounce. Never mind the Burach was never spoken here. Mispronunciation has long been a part of the Burach's life, but even if it is unspeakable, is that really the Burach's problem? Not everything gets fully digested when vowels ooze down centuries like rain through a grit of consonants, nuance, rhyme to the cowgate. The Jacobites would have Burached their way through the night in this city, and now the National Library displays the Burach of knowledge that sits untranslated inside, a feeling of déjà vu of forgotten resonance, spidery hands lolloping all over the elegant margin. We left you a country, and you made a Burach of it. Or we left you a Burach and you made a country of it. Even the Romans would make a Burach and call it peace. What does it matter as long as there's Burach enough left over for Idran? Slanchava, land of hills and Burachs, lang may your Burach reek. By your own wee bit of Burach on the way out. More than time ever.
That's it, Abdi. You've managed to bide with us all day. So thank you very much for all your thoughtful words. It's going back to the Scottish Government. The Oor Vyce, we've got a lot to talk about with us today to think about what we can do next year. And don't forget your feedback forms. But if you want to get involved with us at Oor Vyce, do reach out. Got many things we could keep DB another hand or twa wee bit, but that's it for the night. So get yourselves over to the pub or wherever you're going next, and we'll see you again at some point next year.